Good morning, and thank you for your presence here today to listen to the Dharma. We hope you will learn something useful that you can apply in your daily lives or advance us on our path to spiritual awakening as we travel life's journey. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Let's put our hands together in Gassho. Amida's self-benefit and benefit of others have been perfectly fulfilled as the Pure Land. The compassionate means skillfully adorned to lead us to take refuge. It cannot be grasped by the mind or by words. So take refuge in the Honored One beyond conceptual understanding. From the Jodo Wasan of Shinran Shoni, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, aloha. We welcome you back and thank you for joining us in this morning's online service. I hope everyone is in reasonably good health and at most, if not, at least a good number of you have had your vaccination against COVID-19 already. Hopefully, this will be the turning of the tide against this terrible disease which has plagued the world for more than a year now since its initial appearance in late 2019. This time around last year, the pandemic was at its height, and there was nothing to stop it besides good personal hygiene and physical distancing. Now at least, humankind is armed with several varieties of vaccines specifically designed to confer immunity and protection, and more lives can be saved. The 2021 spring season is gradually making way to summer as we feel the temperature getting hotter during both days and nights. With the hot summer season, we usually can begin to hear the rhythmic pulsing sounds of crickets, the buzzing sounds of mosquitoes, flies and other insects like roaches flying around our homes, and the croaking of frogs in the ponds if you're living in the countryside. The sound of nature can both be soothing and annoying, especially during the night. Frogs in particular, especially the coqui frogs infesting the big islands, make too much noise and keep people from getting a good night's sleep. We are fortunate to live in the city where these frogs aren't present, but they are considered as pests and as an invasive species in places outside major cities. Frogs are classified as amphibians, meaning that they are able to live in both land and water. The first stage of a frog's life is all on water, as a tadpole. It has to develop legs and lungs in order for it to live on land when it reaches its adult stage. Only when the tadpole, the baby frog, develops its legs and lungs is it able to leave the watery world it is living in and come up to dry land. An adult frog spends most of its time on land, but can occasionally jump back to the pond and survive. So I have talked about frogs so far, but what has that got to do with Buddhism? Well, from the time I first converted to Buddhism, I have always been fascinated by the numerous metaphysical aspects of Buddhism. Stories of wondrous things that the Buddha did during his life, events in his life that cannot be explained or rationalized by science and so on. A good example of this is his birth. It was said that the Buddha, after he was born, took 7 steps and made a proclamation, and sweet rain and flowers fell on both his mother and himself at the moment of his birth. Sounds fantastic and magical, yeah? Or the night of his enlightenment on Bodhi Day, when he defeated the forces of Mara, the god of evil and mischief. What did the Buddha see and discover when he attained enlightenment? To try to answer this question and other mysteries of Buddhism would be to be like baby tadpoles who can only mimic their mother's frog sounds or words. The story goes that a mother frog leaves her young swimming in the pond where they were living and goes to dry land on the surface to enjoy the gentle breeze and warm sunshine of warm spring day. When she returns to the pond, her babies, the tadpoles, crowd around her, excited and yearning to learn of her experience in the world above water. She describes to them flowers of many colors, blue skies, clouds, warm breeze, and flying insects. But try as you may to explain the exquisite feeling of sights on land, the young water-bound frogs cannot manage to really understand what her experience has been. They could ask, what are flowers? What are blue skies and gentle warm breezes? They can repeat her words to themselves and others, but they will only know the true meaning of the world outside their watery home when they have developed their own legs and can leap to the surface of the pond themselves. In the same way, the Buddha found that human language is inadequate to describe the state of enlightenment or other truths in the universe which he discovered. The descriptions of the Pure Land in the text are classic examples. The wondrous features described in the Pure Land of colorful flowers, celestial music, food and clothing that materialize instantly just by thinking of them, they all seem like science fiction to us. As part of our human nature, we tend to speculate, to analyze or rationalize the teachings to make sense to us. However, some of the teachings of the Buddha are not meant to be taken literally, nor can they be explained by ordinary rational thinking. Rather, they are metaphors meant to lead us to the truth. During the Buddha's 45 years of teaching the Dharma, he was one time challenged by a follower to answer great metaphysical questions like whether the world is eternal or non-eternal, finite or infinite, whether the Tathagata exists after death, and so on. The Buddha's answer was silence. He refused to give any answer at all. The follower who asked the questions became unhappy and told the Buddha to either give an explanation or he will leave the Sangha. Then the Buddha explained that the spiritual life did not depend on any answer to these questions, which are mere distractions from the real challenge of following the path. The Buddha then told of the story of the man shot by a poisoned arrow who refused to let the surgeon pull out the arrow and treat him unless the doctor first tells him who shot the arrow, the type of poison it contains, the type of material the bow was made, and other useless questions. Other examples are speculation on how the universe was formed, how life originated or was created, and so on. These are rather distractions to the real, more important issues of how to overcome suffering from birth, sickness, old age, and death. For some critics from other religious traditions, the Buddha's silence is viewed as that he did not know the answer, and so it raises questions on his wisdom as the Buddha, the enlightened one. But Shakyamuni Buddha's wisdom is that of one who has attained enlightenment, and it is not possible to explain ultimate reality to people who are unenlightened. The Buddha knew all the answers to the questions posed to him, but he did not regard them as explainable or important to the attainment of spiritual awakening. Thus, he remained silent. The Buddha here in this story is like the mother frog. We ordinary human beings are like tadpoles. We do not have the ability to comprehend the world beyond what our senses tell us. When we read and study the teachings, we encounter stories and words that seem fantastic and defies the laws of science. But we can only fully understand ultimate truth when we, like the young frogs, grow our own legs. That is, to gain wisdom and understanding, to enable us to find and experience enlightenment itself. This is the time we leap from the pond of ignorance to the wisdom world of enlightenment, the leap through the development of our faith in the Buddha's teachings. When we come to understand and accept that we are not capable of knowing everything in the universe, we will not engage in useless religious debates, arguments, and criticisms of other belief systems. We can be free from worrying about difficult issues like the afterlife, what happens after we die, and so on, and instead focus our minds and energy towards understanding and addressing our most immediate problems of suffering in this life, in the here and now. However, in Jodo Shinshu Buddhist tradition, spiritual awakening means not so much as realizing the inherent Buddha nature in all of us, but more on understanding our limitations as foolish, unenlightened beings, incapable of attaining enlightenment through our own self-efforts. We rely on the power of Amida Buddha's primal vow for spiritual liberation. Like the young frogs in our example, through the primal vow, we are enabled to leave our limited underwater world of delusion, ignorance, and suffering, and gain the wisdom to understand the world of enlightenment. When our birth in the Pure Land is realized, we can see and know everything that the Buddhas know, for we ourselves become Buddhas in the Pure Land. We mature spiritually, and like adult frogs, we then begin to croak, to make noise, but not frog noise. Rather, the noise we make is the saying of the Nembutsu, the Buddha's name, in unison, to express our gratitude. It is not noise, but rather music to the Buddha's ears. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Namo.
Kalu
We thank you again, in closing, for tuning in to today's Sunday online message. Beginning next month, our broadcasting of the Dharma will shift to live streaming, so please continue to listen to the Buddha's words of wisdom through different ways of sharing the teachings as we gradually ease our way back to the regular services before COVID-19. Please be well, safe, and always let the Dharma be the foundation for our living the Nembutsu way of life. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.